we began with Jen Psaki on MSNBC last night discussing what is going on in the White House now that Hunter Biden has been charged. We have a heartbroken president. Listen to Cut 8.
And I think on the politics of this, millions of Americans have dealt with family members who have dealt with drug addiction, who've dealt with alcohol addiction, who have dealt with a range of addiction. My bet is right now this is a heartbroken president in the White House who is worried about his son. And we're all watching to see kind of what happens with this.
Heartbroken, worried about his son. The complete rig job, the sweetheart deal that they all worked out, Buck, that was supposed to have been signed off on in July, just about 6 weeks ago. How the plot twist has occurred here where suddenly Hunter Biden, at least potentially, is facing one series of charges. We still need, and this is where I would hammer home, Buck, and I haven't heard a lot of explanation about the timing on this side. We still need all the charges, felony charges, brought on the tax evasion issues. But this is at least a start. Here's a question for you. Do you think charges on tax evasion will ever get brought?
No, not serious ones. I don't think that serious. Again, I'm sticking to what I thought all along here, Clay, which is there's a very, very clear pattern of they just keep delaying and stretching this thing out as far as they possibly can, which has already taken Hunter out of substantial legal jeopardy, and there's no bringing it back because of the statute of limitations. So my sense here is they'll probably give him some kind of a plea deal that will, even if it's felony charges, won't have any, there'll be a diversionary program attached to it. So it'll be some kind of, they're going to lean on the fact that he's a drug addict to say he doesn't need punishment, he needs treatment. And there'll be some, he goes to like a treatment center or something. He's not going to federal prison, which to me, under the circumstances, is extreme sweetheart treatment. If that happens, that's what I think is going to go down, because if he has to take a real charge, remember Weiss, we've already established on the show, Weiss is tight with the Bidens, and yep. Weiss would not have been, not only would he not have been assigned by Merrick Garland, which is not even allowable under DOJ rules to be appointed as a special counsel, if he wasn't a Biden fixes in guy. I mean, he's somebody who's already shown us up to this point his willingness. I mean, Clay, that plea deal,
yes,
that was crazy town,
yes.
Right? I mean, this is, if you had shown me what they were trying to do before the deal, I would have actually agreed with you that the judge would have had to reject it, because it was like, yeah, this deal, and also don't check out anything on page number 15, subsection C, that's going to make a whole other felony go away that we're not even talking about here. Like, it was absurd. And that was what the prosecutors were trying to, that people have to remember. It's not like that was just Hunter's defense team. The prosecution signed off on that.
Yeah.
The prosecution, no, I know you know, but like,
yeah.
It's not just the judge, the prosecutors were in on that scam. So I still think that as much as they're doing all this reporting now, Clay, you saw it, like Hunter is dejected and sad. And, I think that he knows at the end of the day, he will not spend a day in prison. And that is, under the circumstances, extreme favoritism in terms of the treatment. That's my assessment.
I also love this Dan Goldman guy. He's a congressman from New York, right? Am I correct in that? Dan Goldman, congressman from New York, Democrat congressman, obviously. He has become the new Adam Schiff. He will just go so far down the rabbit hole of propaganda. He is like Iraqi Ministry of Information level, Baghdad Bob, crazy. He says Hunter Biden is getting the worst of a two-tier justice system. But before we play this clip, Buck, imagine saying this when Trump is facing 91 felonies and they're trying to put him in prison for the rest of his life, effectively for being the chief opposition candidate to Joe Biden. Listen to Dan Goldman on the two-tier justice system that Hunter Biden is a victim of.
I've never heard of this charge being brought. I understand it is occasionally brought here and there, but in the discretion, I was in the Southern District of New York. We looked for felons who were in possession of guns. We did not look for people who were subject to substance abuse for 11 days in the possession of a gun. So this is unusual, and when you hear of the two-tiered justice system, I would argue that Hunter Biden is getting the worst of it because his last name is Biden, not the other way around.
This is classic,
Give him
right?
credit. This is amazing.
It's gaslighting. It's a mental manipulation technique that they're using here where they see the problem and they accuse, it would be like if you wanted someone to stop hitting you and you hadn't confronted them about it yet because, they get angry and they hit you. And then one day they show up, they're like, I'm really not comfortable with the violence that you're perpetrating against me. It completely upends the conversation and makes it really hard to have any understanding of anything else going forward, because it's not just that you're lying, you're going in the opposite direction of the truth, right? It's one thing to say Hunter probably shouldn't have been charged, which is crazy. But to say that Hunter is being targeted for harsher treatment because he's Joe Biden's son, this is bonkers level insane. I mean, this is like saying Anthony Fauci was way too lax about COVID measures and was way too individualistic in letting people approach it. Like, I don't even know what to say, but for some people, this will work. The problem is, in our mass media environment, the most aggressive lies are many times the most effective.
Well, and this is why I would be encouraging every Republican out there to be hammering, when are the charges coming on tax evasion? That's what has to happen, right? Because they've all, and by the way, they really, I think, should try and charge for what they let expire in 15 and 16. That's also indefensible that they just let that statute of limitations run out, and now they can only get him on, I think it's 17 and 18 calendar years for not paying his taxes. Those charges need to be filed immediately. You can amend the pleading as necessary. You've had 5 years to get them ready. Right now, I think it's fair to ask, not did Hunter Biden get treated unfairly, but are they still charging him with the absolute lowest amount of public charges that they could? Because a lot of times these charges will get pled down to a misdemeanor. Again, to your point, Buck, certainly I don't understand why Hunter would be stressed out that much about this, because if your dad has a get out of jail free card, what the worst case scenario is he has to play it.
I'll tell you what I think, because this came up in the last 24 hours. What I think the problem is here for Hunter is the Biden brand is becoming less valuable. And he's worried about he's worried about them. So it's about the money. He's worried about the millions that he's going to pay. I don't know if this will cost him millions, but certainly hundreds of thousands, no question, that he would have to pay for a legal defense here, even if he was just going to extend and, lawyer it up, do all that stuff. And I think that he's also recognizing his ability to make millions of dollars for doing nothing going forward is effectively destroyed, because at this point, you would have to be truly insane, unless you were like, again, some foreigner who doesn't care about U.S. laws, like a Chinese Communist Party member. But you would have to be insane to want to do any business with Hunter Biden based on Pop has access.
Are you suggesting that his painting career is not going to be as successful when his dad's not in the White House?
Oh, I don't know. I haven't. Have you? To be fair, have you seen the paintings? I think I saw one.
I mean, I thought the craziest thing to me about the paintings, leaving aside the fact that people are paying tens of thousands of dollars for them, is that I believe I'm correct in this, as part of the settlement with the daughter that the Bidens would not acknowledge, they actually gave her some of the paintings. Did you see this?
Correct.
Like that? That's how he's paying part of his child, paternity responsibilities. That seems like a really poor negotiation tactic by her.
Just imagine you're Hunter
paintings.
Biden. You show up to like a Maserati dealership, and they're like, "Hey, this is going to cost you $140,000, sir. Sign here." And you're like, "No, I don't have money. But what I do have is this amazing finger painting for you."
The article
That's what he's doing.
The article, when they wrote about the plea agreement collapsing in the New York Times, they said that there were so many details in it that were just ridiculous. But Hunter's attorney traveled all the way across the country to discuss this latest twist and turn in the case with Hunter in his painting studio. And I'm just like, come on. Hunter is sitting in his painting studio. His lawyer doesn't need to travel all the way across the country to have a conversation with him, right? Like, you can call somebody on a phone. But then he's in the studio with like a paint, like brush, like he's Vincent Van Gogh. Or
he
something.
should show up to all of his, like, if he does end up going to trial, which I don't even think would happen, but he should definitely show up in like a beret and a smock and be like, "I am sorry, I am an artiste. I forget about the taxes." Like he should
What if he did his own courtroom sketches, like while sitting at the defendant stand and sold them like that? That would be. I don't know if that's permissible.
He's super handsome, and the judge is like really ugly, and he's painting
remember when Tom Brady was in the courtroom and like they had the most disgusting painting, like a sketch of Tom Brady? You remember the ugly Brady sketch? I don't know what Tom Brady did to that guy's girlfriend back in the day, but the guy, Tom Brady is an incredibly good-looking man, and he made him look like, Frankenstein in that picture. But the idea of Hunter like sitting at the defendant table, like sketching away, and then signing them and selling them on. I mean, is there a more pathetic thing to have done than purchased Hunter Biden's artwork?
Well, it depends on who you are. Right? If you're somebody that realizes you're purchasing the paintings because it's a way to pay off Hunter to try to get the big guy on the phone,
but if you actually hung it up in your house and somebody walked in, they're like, "Who's that?" Like, that's a Hunter Biden.
No.
Like,
Clay,
did someone do that?
If you and I hope Laura's listening, if you bought and hung up a Hunter Biden painting in your home, it would be an amazing conversation piece. Like everybody you had over, and you'd have to do it.
Funny idea.
Yeah. Like, you'd have to do it like they have at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, like, plexiglass, maybe a light above it, and, you could play some Vivaldi quietly in the background. That's how you got to do it.
A Hunter Biden original would actually be hysterical to put in my house. Like,
now I'm worried Clay's actually going to buy it. This would be amazing.
I would actually, it would be amazing. It's like, some people who are really successful, they put up paintings of themselves, which is like, it seems a little bit cocky to have a painting of yourself in your own house. Like, we know who you are. It's your house. There you are on the wall too. But an original Hunter Biden, and when you first walk in the foyer, would be amazing.